Okay, this question comes from Math 155, and this is an interest problem. And it goes A is equal to P, which is your principal, times 1 plus R over N raised to the NT power. Now this may look intimidating to a lot of students, but it's really not. It's just plug and chug. P is the principal. And that means the money that you put in. Like if it's a bank account, if you put $500 in a savings account, then $500 is your principal. So it's the initial amount that's put into a savings account or a bank account or a CD or or anything that is going to make money for you. R is equal to the interest rate. And R is usually given in a percentage, and then you just change it to a decimal. N is the number of times compounded. Now, what does compounded mean? Well, basically, compounded is another word. It's a 25-cent word for calculated with interest. In other words, let's say you have a bank and that computer is set up on a computer, and when your $500 goes into the savings account, that computer, they punch it in the computer, and then that computer keeps up with the interest and how many days it's in there, and it calculates the interest using this formula or a formula like this, depending on what kind of compounding you have. Just a note that if you compound 4 times a year, that is quarterly. If n is equal to 4, that's called quarterly. And you might hear it referred to as quarterly. If it's done 2 times a year, that's semi-annually. If it's done 12 times a year, that's called monthly. And if it's done 1 time a year, that's annually. And there is 365 days, which is done daily, which that's not done very much. So here is your things that you're going to plug in. We still got T. Well, what is T? T is equal to the number, usually, unless specified, the number of years that your money is kept in the bank. So if T is 4, it says that you've kept it in for 4 years. Usually they don't put a distinction on the T, because that's just up to whoever writes the question. But usually it's in years. Now I'm going to rewrite this again. A is equal to P times 1 plus R over T. I'm sorry, N. I always want to put T there for some reason. Raised to the NT power. I'm going to change markers here. And in this problem, they tell us that P is 3,000. R is 5%. Or, in this case, we need to change it because 5%, as I told you, you need to change into a decimal, so that would be 0.05. N is 12, and T is 6. Now all we do is take this information and plug it into our equation. So that would be A is equal to parentheses, brackets, 1 plus parenthesis over parenthesis, close brackets, parenthesis times parenthesis. Now what goes here? Well, your P goes here, and P is equal to 3,000. Right here is R. R is equal to 0.05. N is 12, and T is 6. So now, we're not ready for a lot of math, but we're ready to clean this up a little bit. So we're going to clean it up. A is equal to 3,000. And 1 plus 0.05 divided by 12 raised to the 12 times 6 is 72. Now, 0.05 divided by 12, that's going to be a number, a decimal, and I'm going to let you do that on your calculator. But the way that you work this on your calculator is this number is always going to be around 1. Now I'll take my calculator and I will divide that out. It'll take me just a second here to pull up my calculator because I don't have it with me right now. I don't carry it around with me like some people do. But anyway, let me get to calculator. There we go. And that'd be 0.05 divided by 12. 0.05 divided by 12. And that equals 0.0041667. And that's going to be added to 1. So this right here becomes 1.0041667. Now a lot of people say, well, that's not very big. Well, it's not going to be very big. It's going to stay around 1. Because if it got toward 2 or 3, then you'd be doubling and tripling your money, and the bank would go out of business, and you would get rich. And that's not going to happen. The bank's not going to do that. The bank is going to keep this number around 1, because 1 times 3,000 is 3,000. They're not going to say, okay, well, let's keep it in there and let's double it. Well, they're not going to make any money doing that. They're going to lose money. So this number will always be around 1, and then when you raise it, it's still going to be around 1. Now, A is equal to 3,000. Now you're going to take this number in your calculator and you're going to raise it to the 72nd power. Now the way that you raise things to the power is there's 3 buttons on your calculator. One is like a caret symbol. One is X to the Y. And then the other is Y to the X. Now depending on your calculator, it could be any one of those 3. So you would type in 1.0041667 and you would raise it to the 72nd power. Now I don't have a calculator to do that, so I'm going to let you go ahead and do that. I might can pull it up on my computer. Let me see if I could do that. Just take me a minute. Here we go. And we take 1.0041667 and I raise that to the 72nd power and I get 1.349020968. Multiply that by 3,000, and of course you're going to get more than 3,000, because if you put your money in the bank and they take money away from you, then you need to change banks. That's going to be $4,047.06, and you made $1,047.06, and all that money did was sit in the bank. And that's how you use the percentage formula. So I hope that helps. Please let me know if you have any more questions, and have a good day.